So a while ago on Facebook, I pasted one of my all-time favorite Unitarian Universalist jokes. How many UUs does it take to change a light bulb? Here's the answer. We choose not to make a statement either in favor of or against the need for a light bulb. However, if in your own journey you have found a light bulb that works for you, that is wonderful. You are invited to write a poem or compose a modern dance about your personal relationship with your light bulb. Presented next month at our annual Light Bulb Sunday service, in which we will explore a number of light bulb traditions, including incandescent, fluorescent, three-way, long life, and tinted, all of which are equally valid paths to luminescence. And then my Facebook friends chimed in one after the other. Well, what about halogen? Let us not forget the LED. Don't forget about the discussion group afterward to process the experience of changing a light bulb. Will there be a support group gathering that week for the candle users? Which room are they going to get? Keep it green, lightning bugs in a mason jar. The more the joke grew, the louder my laughter got. But the point is not ridicule, but genuine fondness for a religion that is so unique in this world. Spirituality for us in the 21st century is not so much a straight equation of specific beliefs as it is about a quality of living that our personally chosen sacred books and symbols lead us into. The quality of living that Marty sees in the life of Paul Newman, who said, "I'm not running for sainthood. I just happen to think that in life we need to be a little like the farmer who puts back into the soil what he takes out." Maybe God or Jesus or Buddha or the Bible brings you into that. Maybe not. But Unitarian Universalism's gift to people is putting first things first, casting a vision of the possibility for everyone of life abundant, which is sometimes the richness of joy, and other times it is strength of hope in difficult times, and all times it is strength of commitment to leaving the world better than when you first found it. This is the vision of spirituality I need in this world that is so very beautiful and so very broken. Spirituality is treading in the cream together until it becomes butter. Spirituality is being set free from all that binds so we can love more. To get to that more, we go to whatever source of inspiring light that is available to us. Why limit things to just one source when there are many ways to truth? Incandescent, fluorescent, three-way, long life, tinted halogen, LED candles, and yes, even lightning bugs in a jar. Oh boy, the annual Light Bulb Sunday services are good. We are a freedom-loving, light of truth-loving people. This is the constant through line in our religious tradition that has seen so many changes over the course of millennia. 2,000 years ago, our people honored Jesus but did not believe he was God. Jesus was seen as demonstrating the freedom of the Spirit one could have when one truly walked with God. And then 1,500 years ago, our people didn't believe that human-created church traditions were absolutely authoritative. They believed that the freedom way to the truth was the Bible alone. 200 years ago, another great change led our people to step back from believing that Christianity, with its Bible, was the only way to truth. They started believing that the freedom way to truth could be found in all the religions of the world, and not just one. And then 100 years ago, a word like humanism emerged in our faith tradition, and we affirmed that vibrant spirituality was not necessarily dependent upon God belief, that atheists and agnostics belong at the table just as much as theists. And now, in our 21st century now, we are saying that Eurocentric, white, male, heterosexual, cisgender, middle class, ableist culture is not the only form of freedom through which to reach out and touch truth. An essential part of the truth can be known only through the perspectives of people of color. An essential part of the truth can be known only through the perspectives of LGBTQ people, or people who are disabled, or people who are poor. If we are missing out on any of these perspectives, wow, we are missing out on a precious piece of the truth. All of this is why Unitarian Universalism makes us proud, even though we may poke at it with fondness. But now I want to shift gears. So far I've been talking about the unique spiritual way of life that Unitarian Universalism represents. But now I want to say a little about my personal route into all of this, and it is by no means a straight way. What led me to my first ever conversation with a Unitarian Universalist minister was a deeply felt need for spiritual groups to hold me close and wings to set me free. Yeah. I was hungry for spirit life luminescence. By then I had been out of the Church of Christ for 7 years and had been teaching college philosophy for about 3. Do y'all know about the Church of Christ? This is not the United Church of Christ. The United Church of Christ is super liberal, but the Church of Christ is on the end of the spectrum. It is as fundamentalist as you can imagine. I was coming out of that. I was also a new dad, looking for a religious home for my young family that would be very different from what I grew up in. Something more generous, something more sane. But that's the conversation. Yes, so that's the conversation with the minister. We met during the week in his office, and I was struck by how the light in the room was blue, coming through the blue window curtains. I felt like we were on the ocean. I found myself pretending that his plants were swaying like seaweed. I proceeded to tell him how I had been struggling for years with the one-way exclusivism of the Church of Christ and how they insisted that the Bible was to be interpreted literalistically. So, for example, musical instruments were banned from worship because, hey, there's no mention of them in the New Testament. What? Really? What's up, Dave Blazer? Yeah, we never had musical instruments. It was all just vocal, that's it. But you know, the straw that broke the camel's back for me was a scene one Sunday after church. It happened after a week that my mom and dad had returned home from my baba's funeral, my grandmother's funeral. She had died from horrible brain cancer. Pastor Manuel accompanied us to the local Baskin Robbins for ice cream. And we're sitting around licking ice cream. And we're listening to Mom having this serious theological conversation with Pastor Manuel. At one point, my mother asks, Pastor Manuel, do you really believe that full immersion baptism is absolutely essential for salvation? And the thing was, my mama was a Ukrainian Catholic. And so she had only been baptized by a sprinkling. Right, when she was born. So Mom was desperately worried. She hoped that her mother's soul was all right. Was Baba all right? Pastor Manuel said no. He said that. No. Really? God is that much of a ritualistic stickler? The God of that most profound person named Jesus, who, as I have come to learn, happened to flout ritual and purity laws all of the time, and God never once seemed to mind. Yes. I left the Church of Christ because of that one compassionless word. No. So this was how the conversation was unfolding there in the blue light of the Unitarian Universalist minister's office. And it went deep, it drifted, it meandered. And then he said something I will never forget. He was talking about his own spirituality, and this is what I actually heard him say, that some days he believed in God, but other days he was a devout atheist.
What?
Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, God. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, no God. Sundays alternated between the two, just in equal measure.
Oh my goodness.
He delivered this last line with a big grin. The shock must have been written all over my face because he followed up with his little chestnut from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds.
Oh my goodness.
All this just made me feel dizzy.
I'm sure.
It felt like I was meeting an alien from another planet. He was nothing like my Church of Christ pastor, for whom fear was the master religious emotion. And of course my Church of Christ pastor would insist it was love. Everybody wants to believe that they're standing on the side of love. But how can it be true love when the supposed source of that love is a perfectionistic thug of a God who will send you to hell for eternity if you don't perform a ritual correctly?
Yeah.
Sprinkling versus full immersion. I walked out of that blue light office reflecting on my intense reaction to this conversation, and I realized three things. First, I realized that my Church of Christ pastor lived in a universe full of hobgoblins. And his rigid, unyielding, anxious consistency was the way he protected himself. Second, I realized that I was living in that universe too. Still. I just didn't know that there could be any other way to be religious. I just didn't know that there was a different... Finally, I realized that Unitarian Universalist minister lived in that completely different universe. Hobgoblins were clearly not in the picture for him. In fact, he acted a little like his religious journey was similar to Southwest Airlines, with its culture of creativity and possibility. You might have heard about the Southwestern Airlines flight attendant who one day, right out of the blue, just decided to rap out the safety instructions. Just rap out the safety instructions. Just right then and there, that's what he decided. And apparently it's a big hit with folks in the airplane. They all love that. Apparently he does it all the time now. The point is that Southwestern Airlines says that it is cool. You can do that. It is safe to be your own person. It is safe to try out LED lights when all you are used to is incandescent. It is safe. It is safe to make mistakes and learn from them and be better because of them. That is what the Unitarian Universalist minister's spiritual journey was like. Safe enough even for inconsistencies, like being a theist on some days and an atheist on other days. Can anyone in here relate?
Yes.
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 Fast forward to last year. I am sitting by the bedside of one of my congregants. She is in hospice. 15 years earlier, she had discovered that she had cancer, and she fought it. She survived. And then years later, it had resurfaced. This time, she would not win. We were talking about death and what might come after. She didn't know. I personally believe in life after death. But I will never let personal beliefs get in the way of being fully present to the precious souls I am serving and being fully respectful of where they are coming from. What I said to her was that whatever happens next, you can bet the bank that it will be safe. Now, strictly speaking, no one can know with absolute certainty, but Unitarian Universalism saves us from that terrible Church of Christ universe and others like it, and ushers us into one that is more open and creative and humane. Either there is nothing and no more pain, or there is goodness in some afterlife. She could bet the bank on it. she could trust that it would be a new adventure. That is what I told her. A little later, I gave her a chalice necklace. She had been such a builder of the Atlanta congregation in so many ways. She never felt guilty about asking people to be financially generous and to give until it feels good. That's what she would say all the time. Because that's how she gave, until it felt good. As much as that took, more was always better because that is what it feels like to support something that supports you in heart. And so, I offered her a chalice pendant, like the ones UUCA gives its 8th graders completing their coming of age year. And she looked at it with eyes that suddenly widened. And her instant answer was, yes, I want to wear that. I am coming of age in a different way myself. She said that. Death is but a new adventure. She raised her head off of her pillow with that slow, effortful movement that people who are deeply ill have, and put it around her neck, the symbol of the faith that we both love so much. And it was still around her neck when she died. After officiating at her memorial, rather than getting in my car and going home, I found a place outside to walk. I just needed to be outside. I needed to be surrounded by the sun's warm luminescence. I just kept walking, looking at the trees, looking at the sky, feeling for my life, feeling for the sacred that I knew I was immersed in always and everywhere. Above all, feeling grateful that my religion did not clutter up my sense of relationship to the sacred with ridiculous rules and oppressive fear. It was just me and the mystery, which I sensed in the sun and the sky and the trees around me. The mystery becoming known in my life, and my job was to be open to what comes with all my heart and mind and spirit. And on that spot, I wrote this personal creed, which I have since posted on my bathroom mirror, and I intend to get it tattooed on me somewhere. Stay curious. Every moment, the mystery unfolds. The mystery unfolds even now, as it brings you and me together. We are at the forming edge of a new story, and I hope you will call me as your minister. And I hope we will enter into covenantal relationship together, a relationship of mutual respect and creativity and joy. Here is where we are, at the forming edge of new life, things being revealed, each moment a precious possibility. No kind of light source off limits. Incandescent, fluorescent, three-way, long light, tinted, halogen, LED candles, lightning bugs in the jar. No scarcity of light to illuminate what is happening. No reason to be afraid. Just stay open, stay courageous, stay curious. Despair may last for a night, but joy comes in the morning. This is the Unitarian Universalism I am so proud of. Love. It has brought me right here to Rocky,
Joy.
to Cleveland. How great